So, crab picking. Get right down to it here. I have too many friends who they love crab, but when I say, yesterday I went out, I caught 72 crabs. I call friends and say, hey, you want to come over? I got crabs. And when I tell them that they're in the shell and they have to pick them out, they're not interested because they just don't know how to do it. So what I do is I take the crabs when I get them home. I take the main shell off. Then I take and I pull the claws off. So I have all the claws in one pile. Then I take the bodies, and of course I want to take the shells off. Let's scoop the center parts out. Then I take meat scissors. I take the meat scissors and I go around and I cut all the joints off. And you see I missed this joint here, so it'll be much easier to clean if I cut those joints off. I'm gonna cut them completely off. I missed this one down here a little bit too. Now this one's, his shell's kind of papery still. They must have been just gone through a shedding. I mean, I caught a lot of crabs. Anyway, so when I get to the point here now, it's a day later, because after 72 crabs, catching them and processing them down to this size so that I can fit them in my refrigerator. If I tried to put the whole crabs in my refrigerator, I wouldn't have room. So I take the whole body here, I cut it in half. And then I take the quarter here, I cut it in half. I take the little piece of shell here. So this is the bottom of the crab. You see, that's the bottom, and that's the top. The meat's just falling out all over the place here, so catch this meat. That's the top of the crab. You can see it's the top. That's where the gills were. That's the bottom of the crab. So the bottom part's easy. There's no tricks to it. You just get that meat out of there. This is a paring knife. I use a paring knife. Nice shape. I don't sharpen them. I let them get dull so I don't cut myself. Because you're not going to cut through shell anyway. It's kind of breaking your way through it. So just go into each of the leg sections. Since there's no socket on the end, you want to get that socket removed. Like I cut it off with a meat knife. You can cut it off just with a knife by just cutting through it. But you got to get that socket on the end off. If you left that on, it's in the way to get the meat out. You got to remove that first. See people fighting with that all day long at the crab houses. So here's the top. The top, now I have a trick. So we'll get the loose meat first. There'll be a little bit of loose meat at the top area where the claw was, and get that out of there. It's at the back there. I don't know. So now all this meat here, these go into a section underneath this membrane. There's a membrane. You can see there's meat going all the way down inside that membrane. Makes it hard to get out. So I cut across here. Cut across the top of that membrane. And then now all those sections are free to get the meat out. So here, I'll do the other half too for you. So again, you got to get those leg sections and claw sections and back fin sections cut off. They'll get in the way when you go to pick the meat out. So I cut it in half. The way I cut it this time, I cut more of the bottom section off. There's hardly any top left. But that's that membrane there. I would cut through that membrane. Meat just kind of fell out with those leg sections gone. It falls out a lot of times. That was the top section, but I cut it so far over that most of the meat here is in the bottom section. Makes it nice and easy. It's hard to calculate that though. Don't worry about it too much trying to make that happen. Yeah, you see. Get that meat out of those joints. I want to get all that yummy meat. Crab meat, sweet meat. Sweet. Just to show you here on another one. Again, I can't stress having those joints cut off on the outside edge here. That's the outside edge. Having those joints cut off. If you don't have those cut off, it's going to be harder to get the meat out by at least 2 or 3 times harder. So again, this is the top section. I'm going to just get the loose meat out of the top here. You see that that's that membrane now. I'm calling it membrane, but if it was shell, it's just shell. So I should just say that. But yeah, this meat goes down into there. Just to show you, it's so soft. If you were to try to get that meat out of here without cutting that, you gotta see it's attached up in the end, and I can't get that out of that little piece of meat. Just fight me. Let's try the next section here. And I'm trying to grip it and pull it, but it's just doesn't want to come out of there. So I'm leaving a whole bunch of meat behind. And some people be like, you know, just break through the membrane. And then you got all these little chunks of shell that are going to get into your meat. But you know, now it's really hard for me to even cut the membrane off. But cutting the membrane off, and the meat comes right out. Boy, that really made a mess. I was just trying to demonstrate how hard it is when you leave that membrane on. That's one of the biggest tricks. The two tricks to the whole thing is cutting those sockets for the legs, claws, back fin, all off. Get those out of the way because they're in the way. You can't get in here. And removing that membrane, I keep saying membrane, it's actually shell. Removing that shell from on top of those sections. This again is the bottom. The bottom's easy. You don't have that piece of shell covering any of the sockets. You just pick it right out. That meat stuck to me, it fell right back in. Cut another one here for you, because I want everybody to know how to pick crabs, because crabs are yummy. Then you have fun going out and catching them. There's nothing like a good day of going out, catch some crabs, come home, steam them up, pick them and eat them. So let's see here. That's the bottom. That's the easy part. Nice big chunk at the back fin right there. Yeah, yummy. Bottom sections comes out nice and easy. Top here, that's meat overall in the top, and harder to get to if you don't know the trick to remove that section. So again, here's that piece of shell covering those sockets. Just take your knife, slide it just underneath the top of that, whoop, and remove it. So it's gone, and it's just pure meat exposed right there. Boom. A little bit of it I didn't cut off. Just comes right on out. Whoops. No trouble whatsoever. If you have any other questions, just put it in the comments about how I go crabbing. I use a kayak and a trot line. I started off using an old wooden rowboat with a outboard motor when I was a kid. And I've used all kinds of boats through the years. Now I just use a kayak. It takes me a gallon of gas in my vehicle to drive down to the boat ramp and back. And I buy chicken necks at $30 a box. And so it doesn't cost me much to go crabbing. That $30 box of chicken necks will last me 2 years. And I'll probably go every other weekend. Anyway, here's the claw. How do you clean a claw? Pretty simple. Sometimes you just break it at this joint right here. Breaking it by turning it backwards against it. And if you pull it out, sometimes, I eat that. You get sometimes you get all of me out. The crab recently shed. But then you take right about here and just crunch down till it cracks. Right, a little crack. And I go against it this way till it cracks. Whoop. And sometimes it'll fall completely in half. The meat's been pulled out of that already. The rest of the meat's in there. Get that out of there. Here we got the claw part. Some people just bend these over. You can bend this back, pull it out. You get some of the meat on that there. They'll eat that and throw the rest away. But there's a lot more meat to it than that. And you take the nutcracker, put it right here, just till it cracks. Go this way with it, just till it cracks. And then it just falls apart there. There's the entire piece of meat attached to it. And you take this here, it's very weak now. Bend it, take it off. And you got that entire piece of meat hanging off of there. And if you wanted to do a nice presentation for dinner, you can just do a whole bunch of claws like this. Just put that whole piece of meat, you can just pick them up, stick it in your mouth, bite it off and eat it. I think I do that right now. Yummy. So again, give me a like, subscribe to it. I'm gonna be adding more stuff about crabbing, but what do you want to know about crabbing? Let me know. You want to see my rig? You want to see? I think I'm gonna do some videos while I'm out crabbing. It's kind of neat. I was out there this weekend. I mean, I was catching a dozen crabs on a 600-foot trot line each run, and had bottlenose dolphins out there. I think because my kayak it's a pedal kayak, it doesn't make much noise. There's just this big thing moving through the water. The bottlenose dolphins don't come up to where I am, way up to Chesapeake Bay, very often. But they were just checking me out and running along beside me. And the first time I saw them surface right next to me, I was like, whoa, kind of gave me a little spook. I realized what they were right away because I've seen them out there before. But they didn't bother me while I was crabbing because I would never go fast enough. I was scooting along, that's when it became interested. Anyway, so I'm picking this is that top part that's harder, which is just, this one's kind of a little bit of the socket on the outside left behind here. See, it just gets in the way of trying to pick things. Got to get those leg sockets, claws, the sockets, right where they jointed the body off. And of course, this is the bottom part here again. I'm filling this thing up fast. You know, if you want to know any crab cake, how I cook my crab cakes, I just ate one a little while ago. Yeah, I make my crab cakes. I make them, stick them in the freezer, let them get hard, and then what do you call it? Vacuum seal them. And I'll have crab cakes all winter long. And oh, crab mac and cheese. That's one of my favorites. This is just the beginning of summer, so we haven't really gotten organized to make that yet. But crab mac and cheese, where you bake it yourself. Everybody loves mac and cheese, and you add a whole lot of crab meat to it, and I freeze it in little containers and just microwave those containers up. Oh God, that is good. If you're interested in seeing how I make that, let me know. At the bottom section here, I'll pick it clean. And there's a paring knife I'm using here, and for the claws I use a nutcracker. I don't use any hammers because it just makes splatters and stuff, mixes the shell into things and whatnot because of the uncontrolled smash of the shell into the meat. I try to keep as little, what do you call it, shell possible in my meat. I mean, it's impossible to pick crabs and not get a little bit of shell left behind. And here's that little bit of shell membrane that runs across the top of the sections here. It will get a little hard to cut through. Yeah, don't expect to cut through that on the first tries. It even get difficult for me sometimes, depending on how hard the shell is, because if they've just shed and their shell is still a little bit soft, it's hard to push against it. The whole thing just kind of wants to just smash in your hand, so you just got to learn how to grip it and do the best that you can. But let's see here. Anyway, so, you know, like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to know, what you want to know about crabbing. I do a lot of crabbing. I'm quite willing to share my knowledge. So, country gentleman out. Talk to you later.